Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are going to start dismantling today. So I want to warn you before we get into this. This is kind of the end all for everything that you have learned. This is kind of everything that you've learned up to this point comes to this moment. So before you watch this, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, reach out to me. If you feel like you need a review of cognitive behavioral therapy, the skills within DBT, ABC, CBT, negative core beliefs, anything, please go back and rewatch those. If you feel like you would like to get the workbook before we start this dismantle, email me. Find it on my website, redefinedtherapyandcoaching.com. You can go ahead and get that. But I encourage you to get all questions, comments, concerns answered before we start. Okay, you only have 2 videos left as you get through the duration of the information in the workbook. Okay, so this is where we're going to start the dismantle. The next video is going to be dismantling the actual core beliefs. So this is kind of a follow-up to the last video that we did. So you can see it says ABC ... Okay, so activating event, belief system, consequence, dismantle. So when you dismantle the belief system, whether it is a core belief system or a belief system in relation to a situation, you are looking for thinking errors, undialectics, appropriate emotion, and incorrect behavioral egos. Okay, so this is where all the skill sets come together, right? You learned about thinking errors, you learned about undialectical words, you learned about appropriate emotions through the feelings wheel and Samson, you learned about behavioral egos. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started with the first example. From our last video, that first example was, I have to give a presentation at work next week. Our belief system that we came up with was, I'm going to say something wrong. Everyone will know that I am nervous. I am going to stutter. I won't do it the way they want, and I won't get my yearly raise if I mess up. So our consequence was procrastination, stress, overthinking about the material, and rewriting the presentation going badly in our head. So now for the dismantle, let's look at how much goes into this. Saying I am going to say something wrong is jumping to conclusions and irrational. Okay, so remember, you're looking for the error. So the error was jumping to conclusions. You don't know that you're going to say something wrong. You don't know that. You do not have the evidence to support that. Stating that everyone will know I am nervous is an all or nothing and a mind reading thinking error. It's also undialectical and irrational. Again, you do not have the evidence to support that. So can you see how so far we've done a lot of thinking error identification, right? Is it rational? Do I have the evidence? So you're going back to the very first few videos. Cognitive behavioral therapy, thinking errors, Mr. Murderman, the evidence. Okay. And to mind read saying everyone will know that I'm nervous, you don't know that. You do not know that. That is mind reading other people in the room. It's irrational to do. It is an error. It does not work. Stating I know I am going to stutter is also an all or nothing and a jumping to conclusions thinking error. Okay, so you can see we're identifying that error. Again, that's also irrational because there's no evidence to support it. Stating I won't do it the way I want or they want is an all or nothing, jumping conclusions, and mind reading thinking error. It's also undialectical. Stating you won't get your yearly raise is an all or nothing and jumping to conclusions thinking error. So the entire thing was rooted in thinking errors, which meant the emotion and behavior did not make sense. The whole thing was an error. It was undialectical, right? Everyone, I know I'm going to do this. Like, you're speaking in absolutes that you have no evidence to support. And the reason I say there's no evidence to support it is because you haven't done the presentation yet. So how do you know that? In individual therapy, people will argue with me and say, but evidently speaking in the past, that is what has happened. And my argument back to them is, of course, that's how it happened, because the whole belief system going into it was thinking error. So how was your emotion behavior going into it not supposed to reflect that? If you were genuinely nervous, how was your behavior not supposed to reflect that when you went into it having no skill set that you are learning in therapy? Right? Like, that makes sense that before that is how things went. But now you're getting the skill set to break away from that. So that's not really a fair argument to me, because people bring that to me in individual therapy all the time. So Really look for the thinking errors, right? You can see how I named the errors. If you can name the errors, you will get out of them so much faster. That is why I gave you the name of the error and an example in the beginning of the workbook and in the first videos that we did, was to get people to see you've got to know what the errors are for this process. Because if you can say, oh, that was all or nothing, you're going to know exactly why it's all or nothing, and you're going to know how to reframe it. You're going to know it's mind reading and how to reframe it. Okay, so really, really try and focus on identifying the undialectics and the thinking errors. Okay, you notice I didn't put anything about emotion and behavioral egos here. We will do that. Okay, so the reframe. I have been asked to give a presentation at work next week. And while I feel nervous about presenting, I will cope ahead to reduce my nervousness. So let's pause right there. Cope ahead was a DBT skill. That was in dialectical behavioral therapy, if you remember. Okay, cope ahead. So instead of, it's okay to state that you are nervous. So remember, when we first started this video, I said, look for appropriate emotion. It's okay to say that you are going to feel nervous. It's not okay to say, I'm going to be nervous and everyone's going to know it. That doesn't work. Okay, that does not work. I feel nervous about presenting, and what are you going to do about it? This might be, hopefully to some of you, not inappropriate, but in individual therapy, I do this a lot with people, and it's the and skill that you learned in DBT. But I tell people, you can talk your talk, right? And what are you going to do about it? And essentially in therapy, I'm a little bit more aggressive, and I tell people, you can talk your shit, but then what are you going to do about it? I don't care about that. I care about what you're going to do moving forward. I don't necessarily care what's happened to you. I care what you do with it moving forward, because I think so many people get stuck in that. What are you going to do moving forward? What's the and statement? That's great that that's how you feel. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Okay, that's what this is doing. I feel nervous about presenting, and I'm going to cope ahead to reduce my nervousness. We're not saying nervousness is going to go away. We're saying we're going to reduce it. Okay, sometimes I say things that feel wrong and even stutter. However, I feel as if my coworkers will provide a non-judgmental zone. That's better. Sometimes I say things that feel wrong. Right? That's okay to say. Sometimes I stutter. I do it in individual therapy all the time. Right? I do it in individual therapy all the time. I stutter. I say things that I'm like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing to say, because I'm only human. Yes, I'm a therapist, but I am only human. However, my clients and myself, we provide a very non-judgmental zone for each other. Because a lot of people that come into my office individually, they know me, right? They know some things about my life, because those are things that I've been able to connect with them on and show them that you can get through this, right? So it's okay to say those things and how you feel. But what is real? What's the evidence show? The evidence shows that it's non-judgmental. And I'm here to tell you, if you are working a job where you're in an environment that is not a non-judgmental zone, it ain't working for you. Okay, it doesn't work. Go back to DBT. Do what works. If you are working with a group of people where you have to do presentations and they are going to sit back and judge you and criticize you and not give you that space, you are in the wrong job. Okay, because you can't fix other people. You can't control other people. But does that really work for you? Go back to the skill set. Does it work for you? So I'm hoping you can see just so far how all the other skill sets are coming into play. You just have to learn how to weave them in and out, weave them in and out. This is why I've offered one-on-one sessions for people, because this is by far the hardest part of this entire thing. It's like, I call it in therapy, we call it the golden thread. And it's essentially like taking a thread and weaving it through all of these things. So at the end, you've got this nice little quilt and it's all perfectly laid out. But sometimes if you don't know how to sew, that golden thread is going to be like over here and then over here and then down here. And we don't really know. Okay. So this is the hardest part. So I know listening to this, that might be like, oh my gosh, this is so much information. It is. I'm not going to lie to you. It is. And it's a lot. And honestly, a lot of people that see me individually, once they learn all of this, they spend the next 3 to 6 months just doing this, because they come in with situations and then we dismantle, dismantle, dismantle. And by the end, 3-6 months later, they've got it. So do not feel bad if this is overwhelming. Okay. This is why I have put it on YouTube so you can go back and forth, pause when you need to, whatever it is that works for you. But I hope that you can see so far the skill sets that have kind of are all being weaved together now. Okay. So moving on, I am going to try my hardest to present on all of the required material and present to my management standard. I feel hopeful to get my merit raise and possibly more after this presentation. Okay, so see how essentially they just used their skills. They were going to do at work. So I'm going to look at the material. I'm going to cope ahead. And I feel hopeful because I've used my skills. I'm not thinking in errors. And so the emotion changes from nervousness and stress and on and on and on to hope. The emotion changes. Remember, consequences are emotions and behaviors every time. If you can change the top part of the equation, now you get hope. You changed the emotion. That is what happens. Okay, so that was our first example. I know it is a mouthful. I know I warn people about the dismantle, even in individual therapy. I'm like, I hope you're ready to rock and roll because it is a lot. Like I said, at any time, pause this. This is why I placed them on YouTube so you can go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. I am available via email or for one-on-one sessions. Please let me know because I know this is a lot. Okay, so our second example from the last video, the activating event was I have an upcoming interview. The belief system was I have no hope in getting this job after the interview. I am going to say all of the wrong things. I don't think I'm qualified for this job. I don't know what they see in me. There is nothing interesting about me. I don't think I could bring this much to the position. Consequences, feelings of hopelessness, inadequacy, and worry. We had some self-devaluation, stress, and rerunning and saying unnecessary things within the interview. Okay, so let's dismantle that. This one, I'm not going to get a ton of detail in like I did the last one because I want to see if you can catch these things without me going super far into detail. So I'm just going to read this one and see kind of what you get out of it. See if in your head you can kind of just, even if you can connect one thing, you're one step closer. Okay, so saying I have no hope of getting this job after the interview is an all or nothing thinking error, and it's just plainly unhelpful. Saying that you are going to say all of the wrong things is an all or nothing and jumping to conclusions thinking error. It is also irrational. We do not have the evidence to support that. I don't think I am qualified is an all or nothing thinking error. Stating you don't know what they will see in you and have nothing to offer is an all or nothing and catastrophizing thinking error. Okay, so our reframe. This is how I have reframed this. I am excited to get an interview for this job, and I am nervous I might not get the position. There are times I feel like I may say the wrong things, but I will use my cope ahead skill to help me rehearse possible situations where I could turn saying unhelpful things. I feel as if there could be others interviewing that may be more qualified than myself, but getting called for an interview means I do have the necessary skills to obtain the interview. I will use my cope ahead skill to review my strengths and weaknesses. I will use this to review the job description and gain a better understanding of what I can truly bring to the position. See the difference? I don't know about you, but even just saying the first one, I was just like, no. Saying the second one, I was like, this kind of works. And this isn't even pertinent to me. But that just goes to show you that when you do this, you can start to physically feel the effects of it. So I'm not going to go into detail about that one. I'm going to kind of leave that one for you to, either pause here or be like, okay, I could see the things that she had pointed out. We'll go into a little bit more detail in the next one because I wanted to leave that one for you to kind of get your wheels turning. So our last example was activating event situation. This was my third day this week being late for work. Belief system was I am lazy and cannot get up in the mornings. I stay up too late watching TV. If I can't get to work on time, they will for sure fire me. Consequence, feelings of failure and being inferior, sadness, stress, and devaluating ourselves. Again, we could go on and on and on and on. I also just realized I have a grammar error. It's not I stay up too late. It's TOO, too late. See, we all make mistakes. We all do it. It's all in how you handle it. What are you going to do about it moving forward? Okay, so let's dismantle this one. Stating I am lazy is a labeling thinking error. Not only that, that is a core belief system. Okay, so that is the way you view yourself. That is to your core. You think that you are lazy. Okay, so it's also labeling. I cannot get up in the mornings is all or nothing thinking error. I stay up late watching TV is facts free of errors and undialectics, but it lacks the skills and or change. I did not add this in here because again, I'm trying to get people to get their wheels to turn a little bit. But if you look at the behavioral egos, right? Because we talked about that in the beginning of the video, staying up late and watching TV is a factual statement. But what behavioral ego is that? If you know you have to get up in the morning, it's not the adult ego because you're not solving the problem. If anything, you're being adaptive child, like, I'm going to stay up and watch my TV. I don't want to go to sleep. Okay, that is what is happening. When you don't use the adult ego, you will fall into other egos. And it lacks skills or change, right? How do I get into the adult ego? There's no skill set there. Okay, saying you will for sure get fired is a jumping to conclusions and all or nothing thinking error. It's irrational. We don't have the evidence to support any of this. Okay, reframe. I have struggled with getting to work on time this week as I have stayed up later than my sleep schedule allows. I am going to use my cope ahead skill to ensure I am able to get adequate sleep and to better be able to get to work on time. There is a possibility I lose my job due to punctuation, and I will use the necessary skills to ensure I am able to clock in on time. Okay. We did not disvalidate the fact or invalidate the fact that it has been a struggle and that we have stayed up. You've noticed I've used the cope ahead skill for a lot of these, and the reason being is I have found that the cope ahead skill is probably the number one most helpful skill for people that come in individual therapy. And as a therapist, I can tell people, and I tell my people in individual therapy this all the time, I feel like 99% of my life is cope ahead, genuinely. I really do. Whether it's getting my clothes out the night before, getting lunches ready the night before, meal prepping on Sunday, mapping out my week, it's all cope ahead, all of it. But we do that so the backpack doesn't get so heavy. So that is why I use the cope ahead skill multiple different times. If you've noticed, that's why, because that's the one I see that helps the most. We did not invalidate the fact that there's a possibility they do lose their job. We did not disinvalidate that, because evidently speaking, there's a possibility that being late that many times could lead to that. Yes, but we don't know that for sure. You could sit down and have a conversation with your boss. Things could work out perfectly. If someone was to come to me in individual therapy with this concern, I actually would kind of flip the script a little bit. And before we even dove into the dismantle, I would actually look at biologics. And I don't know that I've explained this in any of my videos, but in the therapeutic world, we use a model called biopsychosocial. So your bio is your biologics. That should that's an error, but there's evidence to support this. That should always come first. Unfortunately, it gets very lost in translation in the therapy world. People go straight to the psycho, which is psychological, and then our social. So your biologics is biologically what is going on. So with sleep, do you have sleep apnea? Do you have a sleep-wake cycle concern? Do we need to get a sleep study done? Are you on the proper medication? Are you on the proper supplements? Do you have too high of a vitamin or mineral? Do you have low magnesium? Whatever it is. If we do not look biologically when it comes to sleep and you just treat psychologically, I disagree with that based on what we are taught in the therapeutic world. We should use a model that is biopsychosocial. Biologics should always come first. Anytime somebody comes into my office with a new symptom, I automatically tell them, go get blood work done immediately. I'm not touching that until you get blood work done. Okay. Someone comes in and they've never had mental health symptoms before and they're complaining of headaches and fatigue and on and on and on. MRI. CAT scan immediately. I'm not touching that, because if it is biological and I go in and start doing things psychologically that don't need to be done, we could cause some damage. Okay. So sleep in particular, and I know this is going completely off the rails with dismantle, but I want you guys to understand that, because that kind of goes back to my whole mental health is BS sort of a thing. If we're not looking at biologics and we're just prescribing people with medications because they fill out a questionnaire that takes them 2 minutes, that is a problem. Like, that is a big problem. Vitamin D is one of the leading causes of depression or symptoms of depression, yet we're going to prescribe someone an antidepressant without even checking that and trying vitamin D for a certain amount of time. Oh, okay. I guess that's what we're doing, society. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. So sleep in particular, if you struggle with sleep, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to look at biologics first. Always, 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 always look at biologics, whether that's a CAT scan, an MRI, medications, supplements, blood work, whatever it is, you need to look at, make sure nothing biologically is causing that problem. Okay, so that's what I would personally do. Then we can focus on the psychological piece, right? Cope ahead. What's in our backpack? Do we need to empty our backpack before bed? Do we need better sleep routine? Do we need sleep hygiene skills? Like, what is it that we need psychologically? Okay, so remember that bio, psycho, social, always. Okay, so we are now at the end of our dismantle. I hope that was not too confusing. I tried to keep it as light as possible. I really did. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know how to reach me, utlcsw@gmail.com. If you have your workbook, there's some practice things in your workbook. Again, you can also do this on paper. If you wrote out ABC on paper and did this by hand, just go through and now dismantle, right? Look for thinking errors. Try to identify them. Do I have the evidence to support this? What is my undialectic? What is my behavioral ego? Okay, try to reframe it. Again, if you need help with this, contact me for a one-on-one session. I would love to help you get through this. If you just have a couple of questions, go ahead and email me. We will work through that. This last slide is just a little bit of a review. So after this, you have what ABC CBT is and kind of how to use it, and how to dismantle events and beliefs to create more positive consequences, more positive emotions and behaviors. Okay, next video gets a little bit more intense, because now we're going to work with the actual core beliefs. But really, the dismantle process is not as hard as it seems when you first start doing it. Please do not overcomplicate it. All you have to look for is the error, name the thinking error, what is my evidence, what is my undialectic, what is my behavioral ego, and then use the skill sets to kind of work your way out of that. I know it is hard. It took me, even being a therapist, it probably took me a year, year and a half, 2 years to really get this to where it's like I can just spit it out now really fast. My clients that see me individually, I will say on average, it takes people about a year. So do not feel bad if you're lost. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my goodness. I am here. Okay. I am here. Please schedule a one-on-one consultation call. Use your workbook. Email me with questions. I am here to help you break free from this. And I know it is a lot. I know it is heavy. So please, please, please reach out. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys for the next one, the last one, the final video when it comes to core beliefs. I will start posting some other content for some other things, but as far as what the workbook offers and kind of going through this quote unquote program, the next video will be the last one. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. Let me know if you need me. See you guys next time.